tables. I think we just need to say, you guys coming up here, you guys operating up here. Oh, you bet. Nope. Have them get up because this is that's kind of the thing. You got to get it. You set your aircraft down there.
Okay, so
And
just
have this area, and then we'll divide them in half. Some of you guys.
we have 3 areas, so I'll let you stick this in.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Yeah, let's just not move tables.
Yeah, okay, so 1, 2, and 3.
Three. Yeah.
So then we can rotate people through. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Am I starting this off? Give him a couple minutes. Am I on?
Test.
Test. Test. I don't think I'm on. Test.
Oh, batteries dead on this one. I got swapped out too.
Oh, this one too.
Oh, yeah. That's probably why it's not quite as loud. Maybe try that now.
Test it. Hey, there we go.
Okay, juice looks good.
All right.
If it dies, we got another one down there.
Okay.
Is that better? Yep.
Okay, welcome back. Yeah. You good? Yep. All right. Welcome back. We're going to jump into the kind of the meat and potatoes of the afternoon, or the PD, really, so that we can get introduced to drone blocks and our aircraft, the Tello. But first, I want to just kind of talk a little bit. Travis and I were kind of brainstorming some stuff over lunch. What would you guys think about, say, on the last day of the summer camp? We have, essentially, we're talking an obstacle course sort of thing, where, Travis, maybe you can explain this a little bit better.
So it really starts with Kevin's idea, and then that's in mine, and I put it into Mike. So for the culminating event, we like the idea of the tapes on the floor, but we don't want you to have to build a new tape times 10 every single day. That's too long race. So what we're thinking about doing is, for the fourth day, the culminating event, is coming up with a schematic that US teachers would use painter's tape, say, 3 feet wide, and it goes up to a certain distance. We tell you what that distance is and what it should be, and maybe there's a turn, maybe there's a curve, and at some point we put a table in the path of that. So at that point, the aircraft needs to go over the table, and it does a couple more turns, and then it needs to go under a table, and then it goes back to the start. And so what we tell the students on that final day is, this is a culminating event. You're going to use everything that you've learned so far in the previous 3 days to actually go out and physically see the obstacle course, measure it, and use that to program your drone to actually fly around there. And it may take them a couple times, but you can rotate students through as they do that. But as you probably saw up there with the screenshots you had of the block coding, it's in typically inches, right?
You can select inches or centimeters, whichever you're more comfortable in.
Whichever one. But anyway, they can actually go out there and measure that, so they know, okay, we tell them he needs to operate at takeoff altitude to start off with, which is about 2 feet. So when he gets to that first table, they have to measure, the turns to get there, and then when they get to the table, okay, I need to go up another foot or 2. Okay, so they program that in. They get past the table, well, now I need to sit back down and get underneath the next table, and so forth, around the obstacle course. Like that.
Hula hoops. Do you guys have access to hula hoops?
Yeah.
Woo,
So
all right.
We're trying to think of things that you obviously have. It does not have to be a table. I mean, we'll say, a table works, but if you have something that's 2 or 3 foot tall by whatever, and you fly over under it, perfect.
Yep.
and stuff, more power to you. You know, if you want to add an extra turn there and have a hula hoop that flies through on the stand or something like that, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Another, instead of all the PVC pipe, I observed my PE teacher yesterday and they were throwing frisbees and she just took the hula hoop up on the basketball court. Will they go that?
Yes, yes.
Like, how high is the basketball goal? Yeah, I'm trying to measure it.
You know, basketball net's 10 feet. The hoop? But
Yeah,
the hoop's
so-
going to hang lower than that.
Oh, you're talking hang it below it. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think we can tell you generally these are, you know, maybe trying to have X amount of turns, X amount of climbs and descents, but generally speaking, you can do whatever you want as long as it's challenging and putting all the information that they've learned throughout the previous 3 days into that culminating event. So, yeah, we can come up with a template, but you can modify it to whatever works best for your environment. But something we were brainstorming over lunch that may be kind of, well, I think it'd be really fun.
Yeah. Does that sound
Yeah.
okay?
Everybody's good with that? All right.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Let's jump into this afternoon stuff here. Tello introduction, of course. It's kind of like Christmas in April.
We're going to talk about the second thing of if they don't fly.
Oh, if you, who did not bring a laptop today? Did everybody bring a laptop, or does somebody not have a laptop? Everybody's okay? If,
So this will be then for those that are tuning in virtually or
yeah, yeah. So those that are tuning in virtually and are not, don't have access to a Tello drone, you know, I've got all the material you need to walk you through this in this afternoon's PowerPoint. So for those of you joining us virtually, download this PowerPoint. Once you get to your Tello, if you forget any of the steps here, just start going through the PowerPoint and you'll find the answers that you're looking for here. Let's talk a little bit about our aircraft that we have in front of us here. What kind of actual specs does it have? Well, as the FAA regulates that anything over 0.55 pounds be registered. Luckily, these things only weigh 80 grams. I think that's 0.17 pounds or something like that. So we're good, even with our prop cages on there and everything like that. We're under the weight that we need and or required to have to register this aircraft. Max speed, 8 meters a second. That's actually pretty darn fast. I tried to see if I could get mine going pretty fast. Sorry, Travis. But, you know, some of these, you can set the app. When we take a look at the app, we can limit the fast or slow speeds on that. I recommend everybody limit your aircraft. But I did try to see if this thing would scoot a little bit faster than what Drone Blocks normally flies your aircraft at. It does go kind of fast. It never did not go 17 miles an hour. I couldn't see it doing that. Max height, 30 meters, 98 feet. So definitely hit the bottom of a basketball net there. Max distance, guys, when it gives these maxes, it's all going to be dependent on your Wi-Fi signal, isn't it? Right? Because we're connecting via Wi-Fi. So if you've got a lot of obstructions and stuff, maybe you cut that distance down a little bit. I have never tried to fly it so far away from me that I lose Wi-Fi connection and stuff. I've kept everything very local in the same room, obviously. So I haven't tried to test that. Flight time, 13 minutes. The more cycles and the more charges you charge, think about your cell phone battery on your normal phone. First, you buy your phone, it's brand new. That charge lasts you all day long. After a few months of charging that thing, maybe it makes it till 5 o'clock before you got to plug that thing in, right? The battery capacitance over time is going to diminish. Okay, so when you first get these batteries in the last 13 minutes after, I don't know, 50, 75 charges, you're not going to get 13 minutes fully charged battery anymore. So be cognizant of that. Very small batteries, 1.1 amp hour, 3.8 volts, micro USB charging, but you guys are lucky, get to charging hubs, so you can charge three of them at once. As far as the camera that we do have on this thing, it's 5 megapixels. Does shoot HD video, 720p, 30 frames a second. Built-in rangefinder, so it can kind of sense about how high off the ground. It's not super accurate, guys. Barometer, that also helps feed that information for how high it is, altitude-wise. It does have an LED on the side, or on the front there. It'll flash, you've got green, you've got orange, red. Those flashes all mean something different. When it's flashing green, that means it's connected to the Wi-Fi, everything's good to go, which makes perfect sense. Orange is it's waiting for that connection to establish, and it'll be flashing at you. Red means no connection is happening whatsoever. So this does operate on 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So just a little bit about our aircraft there. As far as safety goes, want to ensure that we have enough room. Never plan a flight over people. Please kind of keep an eye on your students so that we're not flying over individuals in the classroom there. I put this in here, but it seems to be an acceptable method to grab this thing by the base of the aircraft there. Don't try to reach up and stick your fingers inside the prop guards, of course. Of course, be aware that paper and stuff, loose debris will be blown all over the place once it gets that prop wash. It depends on the amount of room you guys are going to have in your classrooms. You can change how the units, right? You can either operate in inches or centimeters. If you want to keep it at a very small footprint in your room, switch everything to centimeters. If you want to go a little bit further, switch it to inches. Aircraft speed remains at 30 inches a second. I don't even remember typing that in there. I don't know what that's from. I don't know. Okay, so that must be the max limited amount, 30 inches. No, that can't be right. We're going to skip past that part because it can't. You know, I've flown this thing around, and there's no way it was going to fly 30 inches in a second. No way. All right.
Question from our live stream. How long
wonderful.
does it take to charge the battery? Do you know that off the top of your head?
So the only way that I've charged, I have not used a hub. The only way that I've charged it is off the USB. I've had my batteries down to about 30%, and it took a couple hours, about 3 hours or so to get it back up to the 100%.
Yeah, and I didn't time it out. I should have last night when I was charging these, but it took all 3 batteries and a hub. It took from 50% to 100%. It took about an hour to get all 3 up 50%. And the hub, how it works, it charges 1 battery at a time, but it will automatically move to the next battery too. So probably the way you want to do this when you implement it into your curriculum is that you don't want to use these drones in probably in more than 1 class a day, because you'll have to use the recharge. So if you have any sort of elective class,
Info on it.
just say you teach 5 hours of grade science or something like that in your day, it's going to be pretty hard to implement these unless
It's not
you're
LiPo.
applying
Yeah,
for
some of
drones
it's
each
LiPo.
hour.
Lithium
It's going to be
polymer.
hard to implement them across the full curriculum of the same class in 1 day.
One quick note about batteries, they are lithium ion, so if you wanted to put them on the charger and leave them charging, for the afternoon or, overnight, that's perfectly fine with these. Just know that they're not lithium polymer where that came from a fire hazard.
Yep. Just good housekeeping. It's kind of like your cell phones too, guys. You never really want to run those batteries to 0%. It's just hard on the cells in the battery. So if you've been doing that, shouldn't do that. Try and get those charged about 10% at least. We'll take a look at drone blocks. Drone blocks is nice in the sense that it does give you a battery percentage readout. You'll notice on your Tello aircraft, there's really no indication of what your battery percentage is going to be. So that app will establish that information for you. Please do make sure that you remember to charge the batteries for the next day, because otherwise your students come into class and they'll be like, oh. And never, never, never use batteries that are swollen, visible damage. In a crash, if it's been dinged up really bad, you just don't know what the integrity of the cell, since it's a 1.1 cell, what the cell is going to be like, and you don't want to risk a mid-air fire, I'm sure, right? So.
And again, you'll get 2 batteries for each drone that you receive. Each of the, so after drone, there's a boost kits, which come with 3 batteries each, plus the 1 batteries in the normal drone kits. So if you want to work that out, you're also free to purchase additional batteries from the Tello website.
All right, I'm not going to spend much time on this. Just be cognizant, guys, that there are sharp propellers spinning around on these things. We've had several incidents in our program where one person had to be taken to the hospital, get stitches to glue his finger back together.
So these will likely not do that type of damage.
Nope.
The thing you're probably most worried about is getting in somebody's hair.
Yep.
I think we have this in the checklist, but for every day, just hair flying around the room, it'll get into right underneath the prop and kind of line up that motor to where it can overheat and cause issues. So just visual inspection every day, make sure you don't hair it. But obviously that plays into flying over top of people because of prop wash. You could suck somebody's hair into it, just make a nightmare out of it.
To that point, how many people are planning on using these? Maybe take them home with them, kind of play around with them at home? I did. Yeah, you betcha. I just got a new dog. Guess who else likes drones?
Oh, yeah.
So be cognizant.
Is that why there's bite marks?
Yeah, right, right. So, I mean, the second you hit launch mission and those motors spool up, it's like attack mode, right? So, and they don't move very fast, so getting them out of the way is a challenge. All right. Indoor flying do's and don'ts. Do, obviously, be cautious of others around you. Do understand your own limitations and experience levels. Don't try and push it. Do not recommend you guys taking these outdoors either, especially in a day like today. Oh boy, this thing would be gonzo in this kind of wind. Do have fun and explore the features in flight modes. We'll take a look at some of those in the Tello app itself. Please do not fly recklessly or too fast for indoor use. Don't create flight plans that fly directly over people, and don't try to grab the aircraft directly out of the air. I think we give a challenge going to the first student that just reaches up and grabs that thing, just because. Okay, so here's what we do. We're going to navigate, open up your phones. Let's go to, I have an Android, so I went to Android's app store there and just typed in Tello. And I wish I had some way to broadcast this to you, and it literally.
To be clear, we're going into the Tello app, not drone blocks. So
No.
This is Android or iOS only.
Android or iOS, your cell phones.
Or if you have an iPad.
Or iPad. Yeah, whichever you guys prefer there.
You will not be using this during the June course, correct?
You will not be using this during the June course. This is specifically for you guys to be able to check to see if there are firmware updates on all of your aircraft that you're going to be receiving. Once you guys get that thing installed, I'll give everybody a few minutes, but what should populate up there, and I'm going to walk this around, is this. Connect to your drone, connect to your Tello. Some of you may have already hit the OK, connect sort of thing. Are we all there? Is everybody? Nope, okay. No! Yeah.
Anybody running an S21 chance? Good. Crash
Has it been crashing on? Is that what you're running?
The app itself crashes along with all the other DJI apps.
Oh,
They have
gotcha. Excellent, excellent, excellent.
these are all updated, right? I mean, he updated them, I think.
I would imagine.
We can take a gamble of it may, I'm sure it's already updated, so.
It'll tell you. A message will pop up saying,
She just lost $3 million in, points on her gambling.
yes, so you will get video through the Tello app, which is great, That's kind of fun. It is fun. You can take pictures, videos, of course, with the app as well. Has everybody got navigated to their app store? App store. So I can change slides. Everybody okay for me to change slides? This is the interface. Once you download the app, guys, and I'm going to leave it here until everybody tells me I can move on. But I'm going to leave it here because this is the interface that we're going to be looking at once you download that app and hit connect to your Tello. And it's okay if you want to say hit connect to your Tello. It's not going to connect to the Tello unless you're connect through Wi-Fi, and it's going to ask you a series of messages to turn your Wi-Fi on. Oh boy, just go back.
Do any of you need labels put on the top? That would probably be good.
This is just, you can see all the labels from all around this one.
So when you bring up the main menu there, it's going to ask you to connect to Tello, and really there's no way around it. You're going to have to try and connect to your Tello. And this is where the
Does it redirect you to your Wi-Fi settings?
yes, it will redirect you and bring open your internet connection settings, your network connection settings. Since we are in K-State Salina, I think there is a guest wireless page that pops up that you will have to put a check mark in that says use this or access this. I had to do it on my phone.
Been on the Wi-Fi to the drone?
Yeah, to connect. I mean, because you
On Tello?
no, through the K-State wireless.
Well,
Checking the quality.
There it goes.
Yeah, man. There it goes. Not yet. I'm trying to get mine connected here.
It's connected. It's green.
Okay, there it goes. All right. Once you hit connect, navigate to your network connections, guys. your phone is going to be looking for your particular aircraft to connect to, so, and or your neighbors if they've got it on as well. So here's the confusing part, and this is what we need to kind of deconflict for your classroom stuff, because the same process is going to happen when your students all try to connect to their telos at the same time as well, even though they're on their own PCs. So you should have a label with about 6 digits, letters and numbers, written somewhere that you can connect to. Looks like most everybody's figuring this out here.
There's a button on the side.
There's a button on the side of your aircraft. Just hold that on. You'll see the LED light start flashing on the front of the drone. Once you see green there, that's actually a good sign. So it takes a little bit to connect to that guy. Yep, you're perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, so you want to authorize that there. Let's go back. So if it hangs up in your Wi-Fi connection screen, you should be able to keep hitting back. Is that a back button? Where's back? How do we get out of that? I know. There. Now let's just go to the Tello app again. Let's see what that does. I was having a heck of a time. So mine disconnected from me. I don't know if all of a sudden we're starting to get a lot of connections and mine just disconnected on me here.
I'm not sure why iPad was being continued.
So you're good there. You're connected. It looks like you're connected to that guy.
Really just need to go to your Wi-Fi.
And once it's green, now we just need to access the Tello app. So let's go back. Hit back up there. Tello, good. Get out of that settings thing. Where's our Tello app?
Right there.
And why is that? Okay, so which is yours?
6289 F5.
F5s.
No, 6289 F5 right here.
Okay, click on that one. Let's do that. So I'm wondering if it's we're connecting to so many of these things that we're having some issues here. Who's losing connection with their aircraft? Has anybody lost connection? I did as well. I'm wondering if this is a limit, the Wi-Fi bandwidth availability.
But now it's saying there's no connection available.
Yeah, and it kicked me out too. Makes me wonder how spotty our internet connection is here.
It's not our internet connection. This is a direct Wi-Fi connection from the device to the aircraft. We're all operating on 2.4.
But if we're all bogging down that system,
We're all bogging down 2.4.
yes.
But I don't know if these have frequency hopping. If they do, it's probably pretty small.
Yeah. But these have swarm capabilities, so
Yeah, but that's swarmed to one device.
is it?
Yes.
Oh.
One device does.
Oh, so it's just a mimic. They say they have swarm capability. We have not played with the swarm capability yet. Yeah, yeah.
You already sold me a predator, but now you got me a swarm, and you're just talking my. That's all I need. Come with me.
Did your camera shut off on you too? Yeah, so, boy, this is not ideal here. Okay, I'm going to restart mine just to see if I can get some kind of a connection established here. Okay, guys, I'm going to get just kind of start working, doing this demonstration here. I kind of want to show you guys, and it locked up on me. Boy, this is going to be a challenge. Okay, looks like we've got some movement there. Now, if you are operating from your Tello app here, and you want to take the drone, lift it off, that's what the far left button is for, that shows an arrow going straight up. So if I wanted to take off on my phone here, I've got the image, the video feed coming through. I'm going to pop this, hit that button. It tells me, hey, do you want to take off? Slide this slider bar. So I'm going to slide that slider, and it's just going to pop right up to a predetermined altitude that for a short guy, it's about chest high. All right, from here, now I've got these sticks, right? These are our virtual sticks. That's why I've included that stick cheat sheet in there for you. If I wanted to go higher, I'm just going to push my left button, left stick, kind of hold it in there. It's a little goofy. If I wanted to yaw, turn around that vertical axis there, change the direction of the nose, I'm going to hold left, and I'll do sky donuts for you. We can go back the other way. See, I'm holding it, and it's not wanting to go. So it is a little goofy. All right, so now if I wanted to fly forward on my right sticks, I'm going to push forward on that. Maybe. And there it goes. And go back, and it does. Wind will affect it a little bit, and how accurately you push straight down or to the right, or if you catch an angle in there somewhere. If you've got fat, stubby little fingers like me, you're always hitting different inputs on that thing. So just be cognizant. I do not like flying the UAV from this app. It's just the sticks are not that great. If you wanted to land it, once you take off, now instead of that arrow pointing up, once it lifts off, I don't know if you guys can see this, but the arrow is pointing down now. So if I were to hit that to go down, another menu pops up that says land aircraft, tap to land, or here it is, hand landing. So let's try that. We're just going to try hand landing just because I've never done it before. And I'm going to tap that. It says, okay, tip, okay. Put your palm flat, object underneath the aircraft. Within 5 seconds, drone will automatically land on it. Use hand with caution and keep your fingers. This is encouraging. All right, confirm. So I'm going to hold this here. Wow, it worked. So normally what it would do is, right? I didn't lose a finger. All right, normally what it would do is, it's got the internal barometer on it, so it knew about the altitude that it took off from. So once it comes on down here and it senses that it's not moving anymore, it'll automatically turn off those motors for you. I'm not going to try some of these interesting flight modes. One of them is throw and go. Yeah. So you hold that in your hand, you hit that button, and then you're literally going to throw that thing, and it's supposed to spool up and catch itself. We only have one aircraft. I'm not going to risk that it doesn't work. The flips, you're going to see, I'm not going to mess around with flips on the app here because we do have that option in Drone Blocks. They have created flip blocks, flip forward, flip back, flip right, flip left. And it's pretty fun to watch that thing. They're aerobatic, right? They'll just flip on their axes there. Up and away, that flight mode there is to try and get some of those nice cinema photography shots. If you're out doing something, you want a nice zoom out pan where it climbs up in altitude and stuff. So it does have some fun filming aspects to it. 360, get an orbit view of stuff. Circle, I don't know if you've ever tried to do a good circle manually with your hand, like with a drone. It's difficult, okay, to fly a good circle with a drone. So that's typically why they put in an automated flight mode to do a circle for you, which is great, like that. I have not played with balance mode either, but apparently it can kind of skip off the ground and stuff. Seems like it'd be awful rough on the internal components of your UAV. So I don't know if any of these flight modes that come stock with the Tello app interest you. Really, guys, the main reason that we have this Tello app is to check to make sure we need a firmware update, okay? And it's also fun to just be able to see through the camera, take pictures. So feel free to explore that app all you want there. All right, so I'm going to turn off this Tello. Any questions? Okay, let me finish hitting the buttons here. That's your flight modes. Of course, what do you guys associate the wrench gears things with? Settings, right? So let's actually, I want to run through that menu item with you here because this is where you are going to set the speed of your aircraft. If you look here, you've got the very first option is fast or slow. I recommend everybody going into the app and setting it on slow. The very first item up there. There you go. Yep, the very first item up there.
Somebody else connected to somebody else's.
Oh, you're.
Look at this. But I put this in.
Oh, she's connected to your drone.
Connected to your drone. I guess we're gonna have the other. Okay.
So yeah, you can just disconnect and connect back to the K-State wireless, just network settings. You know, I'm not quite clear why we're all having issues connecting and staying connected to our drones. So again, in that app, that first option there, fast or slow. It does have VR capability, Bluetooth controller settings. That is this transmitter that I showed you guys earlier. If you wanted an actual transmitter, here's the thing. These drones cost, what, $100 for the thing? $50 for this thing. So, I mean, it's half as expensive. How much? Hey, discount price, $39.99. One day only. All right, so this is nice, and this is a better way to control your aircraft than those digital sticks that they have on it. If you wanted to spend that money.
One thing I might say on the connection issues is that, you know, when I was messing with these last night, the best way would be to have students power them on one at a time and connect. The Tellos also will kind of shut itself off after about 5 or 6 minutes
Okay.
of sitting idle, and will disconnect from, especially drone blocks. So
Yes.
when we get into drone blocks too, really, you don't need to connect until, like, your students won't need to connect until they're ready for their mission, and they're going to be ready for their mission at different times. So since they're not using the Tello app, this won't be quite as chaotic toward the summer camp, but we'll also build in time to have some connection time.
Yeah. One great feature inside this Tello app, though, you know how we've all got these funky little numerical codes for our drones? You can go name your drones. You can name them Polka Dot, Pixie, whatever you want to call those things. And so each one of your drones in your classroom, you can edit the actual Wi-Fi name in there. So when it populates in Wi-Fi, you'll know which ones they are.
Hey, I just found out something for the first time. So if you have problems connecting to your drone, what I had to do on hers is actually, once you connect to the specific Wi-Fi, go back to the Tello app if you just downloaded it, because sometimes there's an authorization.
Oh.
Tello wants to access your network settings, and so you have to hit authorize and then XX, and then it's right in. So if you came across that, where you're kind of stuck on the Wi-Fi page to show it's connected, it should have the exclamation point mark because it's not connected to the internet, it's not internet. So go back to your Tello app and there may be an authorization page there for you.
Under that gear settings, you've got the flight speed, VR, Bluetooth settings, Wi-Fi settings where you can change the name of your Wi-Fi. There's also a little button called More, kind of the catch-all menu there. If you click on that one, essentially that's where you can go to change the if you want to go metric units, imperial units, photo quality, low, normal, or high. It does have a low battery warning setting in here, and I recommend everybody get in there and double check where my low battery setting is at. Mine's at 15%, and that seems to be the lowest end of the slider bar. Yours says 20? And 20 is fine, guys. 20 is fine. 15 to 20%, making sure you're landed and getting those battery charges is perfect. I said I think the minimum about 10%. So just so long as you're not running to zero. Stick mode. Stick mode's important because if you change the stick mode, that means your altitude controls and your directional controls will be reversed. Here in the United States, we fly in mode 2. Everywhere else, they seem to fly in mode 1, which would mean that my right stick is now my altitude control and my left stick is my directional controls. So please make sure you're on the right mode so when you go to take off, you're not actually just not doing anything except trying to go forward, right? All right. Bit rate, I've got mine set to auto. All right, the next thing that we have over here is this play button. If you are recording video or taking pictures, if you just hit that play button, it's going to take you to the folder that it's storing all that information in so that you can access those pictures or...
Can you talk about modes one more time on your right?
Yeah, the modes. All right, flight modes is... You want me to talk about flight modes? It's the aircraft looking icon there. That will take you to the different flight modes. All right, so the play button is going to take you to the file destination where it's saving all of your data. Of course, this icon, what do you guys associate that with? Video, what do you associate that with? Just start and record, take a picture. So it's either going to be a camera or it's going to be a, a video that you can select. You hit the camera button here to change between video mode versus picture mode. And then the play button is going to either be record or just snap a picture.
Just real quick, show of hands. How many people are actually connected right now? I just want to make sure we have about 10 that are connected, so it's representative of your classroom. So we are all operating on the same band, so it's going to saturate a little bit. We may have, if you run into problems with the classroom, you may only want to throw, put 5 on at a time and then rotate back and forth. But it looks like we have 7 or 8 on at the same time right now. So if you start having issues where it starts disconnecting, you might want to consider running 5 at a time. The other thing that's going on right now is obviously they're sitting there, there's no airflow over them, and it's hot in here, so they're overheating, right? I think a lot of you have seen overheat. You feel like it's very hot. So these things are really small. They really don't have internal fans. It relies on the propellers to do that. So if it's sitting there for a while, they will get hot. The good thing about drone blocks is you can do all your flight planning before you're connected, right, Mike?
Yep.
And then upload it and fly right away, so it doesn't have to stay on the entire time.
And in fact, you do not... With a 13-minute battery life, you don't want to leave that aircraft on while you're programming stuff, right? I mean, you want to conserve your battery, so just have your students leave the aircraft powered down until they're ready to upload the flight plans. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Make a little more sense when we're actually walking through it. Yeah.
Is the green light on, is the green light flashing consistently when it's on?
Yes, it's connected. Green light flashy is good for us. That means we're connected to the Wi-Fi. We've got a lock. The orange, it's searching for that Wi-Fi connection. Red, it's not liking anything. All right. We all have a pretty good understanding of what the Tello app is for. What is the Tello app for? What are we going to use it for? Perfect. Or for funsies for yourselves to just go fly around, take some pictures, right?
And there was an update on that.
Since these are brand new aircraft, obviously UVT, it will tell you, right when you log into that Tello app, if there's a firmware update, it's going to say, hey, I need an update here before I even take off. They've really kind of tried to take the thinking out of it for us, I mean, lead us down the right path. So
So,
Okay.
we have 10-foot areas, hopefully planned out for you, so hopefully that's enough room.
We talked about trying to do a strategy for connection. I don't know if it would be really tedious for students to do it one at a time like that. I think that's going to be one of those things you're going to have to assess the size of your class for the summer camp.
I think we have them spread out about that 10 feet.
Yeah, if we spread out, it shouldn't be too bad.
You have the next person that's, a foot and a half from you.
All right, so updating the Tello firmware, guys. Like I said, it's going to notify you. If you do have to update your Tello firmware, I've given you instructions on exactly the step-by-step process of how to do it. Not only that, I've also included a video walkthrough, somebody demonstrating live how to update their firmware. So if you fire up the Tello app before class and it's telling you that your Tellos do need to have an update, maybe refer to this PowerPoint, take a quick look at this video down here, or just follow these instructions, and it should walk you right through it. All right, so let's, I'd had this live walkthrough where we're going to unbox our drones, but everybody got in here like Christmas morning, ripping into their toys. And good for you guys. I would have done the same thing. So we've already kind of played around with getting our aircraft connected. We understand some challenges that we might be up against come camp days. So I really, unless Tello, I can't tell you for sure how frequently Tello pushes out an update. But since I know who makes the Tellos, which is a company called DJI, which is the most popular commercial producer of unmanned aircraft systems, they are famous for pushing out updates regularly. So, and that makes sense.
One thing I encourage you to do is days leading up to the event is to take your computers, and if you know you're going to have more than 10 kids in the class, try to set up that space, turn on all the aircraft, and try to connect to them, and make sure you kind of have good connectivity. If you don't, then things to do is spread out a little bit more, or you can maybe just run half the class at one time and then rotate to the second half when they go to fire up and do the plan.
And when you're doing that, it may be beneficial to have help with you. As we've seen, these things time out. If you're trying to connect all 10, you start with one. By the time you get to the 7th or 8th one, the first one's probably going to time out on you. And then you're chasing your own tail trying to get those. So if you got 2 people working at it, I bet you get that completed pretty quickly. Get them all connected, make sure you got video feed, or not video feed, but you've got Wi-Fi connection, got the green light going on all those aircraft. All right. FAA Trust Certificate, we did spend a little bit of time already talking about this, and what the plan is on the 3rd day. We're going to walk all the students through their trust certificate. What I wanted to do for you guys is include a slide in here with the links to each one of the websites that you access to go get to the Trust website. The very first website link that I have up there, what is Trust? It does take you to the FAA's official website, and the reasoning behind Trust is a thing now, because recreational flyers up until last year didn't have to have a certification to go fly. So now the rules are updated, kind of explains it there. Which Trust link? Well, there's lots of different entities out there that have partnered with the FAA to develop their own content with the same end goal in mind. Okay, so no matter which link, Trust link you follow, so you've got the one that we're going to do, which is AMA, Academy of Model Aeronautics. You've got Boy Scouts of America. You've got all kinds of youth programs out there that have partnered with the FAA to create the same content. What I like about the AMA's content is that it's not all video. So I can talk to some of the finer points that they're trying to convey to the students. Maybe illustrate, highlight things a little bit more than the video will do. So if you're curious, you know, I mean, you can just hop on that trust link there. You can try different trust links. Maybe you like one that's just talks to you, does the whole video feed, and then you take your test that way. So you don't have to just do the AMA link. There's a list of about 10 or 15 different agencies out there that have created their own trust material. So we do recommend that you guys, and ask that you take the trust stuff before the class, yeah?
So if they already have the Boy Scout one, then they don't necessarily need to do the AMA one?
Well, boys,
Should
okay,
they?
yeah, they should definitely do that. You're talking if they are already in Boy Scouts?
Yeah, and they've already done the Boy Scout one.
You've already done the Boy?
No. Some of my students are big time Boy Scouts.
Okay, but it doesn't matter if they're Boy Scouts, if they haven't gone and done the trust link
Trust link.
that the Boy Scouts of America has
But if they've done
developed.
that one, then
Yeah,
that's, okay.
yep. You know, and I wish I could remember some of the other links that are out there, but just can't off the top of my head here, so. Again, with the printer thing there, the only reason I keep mentioning that is because once you start that trust program, if you click out of it, there's no way to pick up where you left off. You either complete it or you start all over. And not that it takes a long time or anything, but normally when you start something, you want to get the end result. So again, all those links included in this PowerPoint here. Trust certificate during summer camp. One question here, will each student have access to their own device? You answered that question for me. So we'll figure out a way that they're going to create screenshots or email those certificates to you guys so that you can print those for them. Is that? Obviously, we talked about this too. I'm going to lead the trust program. I'll talk to all the content to the students. Questions, I'll go ahead and read those questions. We'll let you guys give the students time to answer those questions before I move on to the next question. All right, so let's jump into this block coding here, guys. We're approaching 2 o'clock, is that right? 2 o'clock. Let's go ahead. Do you guys want to take a 5-minute break? Anybody want to use the bathroom? Let's do a 5-minute break. Get some air here, and then we're just going to jump right into drone blocks. All right. Kevin, we good? All right. Turn my mic on. Test. All right. Block coding. Let's jump into this. We've got an hour left here. Really apologize. I thought we'd be ahead of schedule now. All right. As far as block coding goes, guys, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this with the introduction that students have already gotten to Scratch. So with regard to drone blocks, the live demo here, this is the, I wanted to include a link in there in case, somebody didn't bring a laptop or anything. So those of you joining us virtually or watching this after the fact, downloading the PowerPoint presentation, drone block Chrome extension, if that's what you're going to go with for your classrooms, is available to you right there. It will link you right to the spot that you can either download it for your Android, iOS, or for PC. Drone block walkthrough live via overhead. We're going to talk about logging in using your Google account or an email account, what the main canvas in drone blocks looks like, some the menu commands, and saving and loading some missions here. So, of course, I've already talked about this. One of the major limitations of drone blocks as it stands today is that we don't have a way to access the video camera through this app. This is the interface, and this is exactly what drone blocks looks like. It appears to me that all you guys have you're on it. You've got drone blocks up. You've already got the extension, so kudos to you guys. Good job. Now, which way did you guys choose to log in? Did most of you use Google login? I know all of us, with all the passwords we have to remember today, Google does a great job of saving all those passwords. That's what I use to log in. I've done it both ways, using the email, and you create your own password. You just type in the email address that you're going to primarily use. It asks you to create your own new password. Then just remember that password for logging in for future reference. So all right, so the remaining portion of my PowerPoint presentation really just kind of stair steps you through if you do not have access to drone blocks. So I want to take a look at the interface here. This is the main canvas, all this white that we have over here. And if I move my cursor around, yes, you will be able to see it. So right up here where we see the three lines, we're going to call that the hamburger. The hamburger is where we keep all of our menu options that we're going to access. Right now, I don't have any mission selected, and in fact, if I go in here, this is what you're going to see the very first time if you have not logged into anything. So I click on the three lines, the hamburger up top, it's asking me to log in, and I have very limited menu options on the right-hand side there. If I click log in, this is the menu you'll see, and this is where you get to choose whether or not I want to log in with Google or via your email. I'm going to go ahead and sign in with Google. It should be a fairly quick process, and boom, if I go back over to the hamburger, click on it, now lo and behold I have a few more menu options with the log out option down below. Let's go through some of these menu options here. You can select new mission if you would like, but once you open it up, you've got a blank canvas anyway. You don't have to necessarily come over here to start and click new mission. Launch mission, that is when you've got code put on your canvas, if you want to upload that to the drone and execute that drone, because the second you hit launch, if that aircraft's turned on, it's going to do whatever is on that canvas. So just be cognizant of that. Show JavaScript code. For those of you that are into more programming stuff, if you click on that, it will populate some JavaScript code over on the right-hand side there. To get rid of that, just hit the button that says hide the JavaScript code. Save mission. I guess, I don't have a requirement for your students to, save their missions. Yes, I apologize. Yes, I do. Because they are going to be using the code that they create in certain missions to kind of access, take a look at it to assess what can I change here to kind of shorten and, you know, streamline this code, i.e. loops, or maybe using variables or functions. So it would be handy if they create, you know, especially that adaptive bank turn, that they come in here, save their mission, they'll be able to title whatever they want, click save, and then it's going to save that mission. And notice right here, instead of no mission, now all of a sudden it's loaded or saved the mission that I named it. My missions, if I come down here and click on that, now I just created the test mission up there, but I've also got this box pattern loop with a flip. So let's take a look at that guy there. The way you access these, if you come over here and try and click on it, you know, nothing's going to happen. You got to come over to the far right side and click the pencil to edit it. Once you bring that code up, it's going to populate it right in the right-hand side over there. You can drag that code anywhere you want. And if you take a look at this code, this is exactly like the orientated box pattern that I demonstrated earlier, with an extra line of code in there that tells it to flip forward. All right, continuing on with our menu options here. That was in My Missions. Switch to metric or switch to imperial. So here we are in the United States. I'd say we would probably want to stick with our imperial units for our students. All right, so if I had my code all the way back up here like it populated to begin with, let's talk about some of these buttons that we've got right here on the right-hand side. We've got this radar looking thing. If I click that, it's just going to zap my code right to the center of my canvas for me, which makes it real nice to go ahead and edit it. It's not up in the right-hand corner there. I've got plenty of room on all sides to manipulate code. The plus and minus, we want to blow this up, we want to shrink it down. Just depends on how big your lines of codes, your mission planning is going to get there. If we wanted to get rid of all this, we're going to click on one of these at the very top. Otherwise, you're just going to separate all your code, right? So you've got to grab the very top one. We want to get rid of this. You bring it down to the garbage can, wait till the lid flips up, and then drop it in there, and it's going to trash it all. All right, so if I want... Say that again? It's still saved. Yeah, once you saved it, it's still saved. Until you come over here and just trash it out of your missions, it's going to save it. So long as you saved it first. All right. If I go back to home here, that takes care of the hamburger feature, some of the buttons off to the lower right-hand corner. Let's take a look at what we got going on the top right-hand corner. Right here is Connect to Tello. I hit Connect to Tello. The key is here, the words Connect to Tello means that you are not connected to the Tello right now. When you click that, it's going to bring this menu up to tell you exactly what you need to do to get your laptop or your PC connected to your aircraft. First, we're going to power up the aircraft. We're going to connect to our computer's network settings. So I'm just going to kind of run through this process here. I'm going to fire up my aircraft. Wait till I got a blinky light going on there. Navigate over to my computer's network settings. Did you guys all see that populate? The Tello populate up there. So I'm going to select that, connect. Then I'm going to close that out. What it does say here is wait a few seconds for the network connection to be established, and then I'm going to hit connect. Okay? Once you connect, did you see, take a look at the right-hand corner up there? Instead of saying connect to Tello, now what does it say? Tello. So now you are connected to the Tello aircraft. If I were to come over here, I'm going to move my aircraft right out to the center of the room here. Go back into My Missions. bring up the code that I had just put in the trash can here. So now I've got this code up here. I've got my aircraft connected. If I come over here to the hamburger, hit launch mission, it's going to highlight each one of the lines of code as it progresses through it.
See what's at the bottom?
Yep. Woo! It does have a little delay between each segment or line of code.
So you talked about the highlighting.
Yeah, that it highlights as it's going through each section of code. Now, if you take a look at the units that this is created in, this is in inches, isn't it? 20 inches for all that. I don't know that it's actually measuring out accurately 20 inches. It seems pretty short to me. Now it's going to orientate itself and then land. But right down here, let's take a look at this button right here. If you feel like that aircraft is going to be flying right towards a fan, somebody's hair, something like that, you do have the option to cancel all of that right now, right? So let's try it. Let's see what happens here. So I'm going to go back up. Whoops, sorry. Go ahead and launch mission. I got 37% battery and I think it's feeling it. It doesn't. It may not make it past the flip. Do it, do it. Okay, so that's great that it did that. One important thing is if it doesn't have enough battery power to complete the flip, what did it do? It skipped it, didn't it? So it's a little bit smart there. Now, what I'm going to do over here is now we feel like it's going to fly into somebody. I'm just going to go ahead and hit this abort mission and see what happens. Just lands right where it's at. Okay? So, safety feature there. I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize that they had an abort button up there until I just saw it now. So, yay for having safety stuff. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take this code, drag it, and drop it right in the garbage can here. And let's start exploring, before I get ahead of myself here. We know it's connected to the Wi-Fi because it says Tello, not connect to Tello. Just to the left of that, we have a brand new feature. This is the brand new feature that just came and populated into Drone Blocks this week. I think it's great. Your students will probably love it as well. I'm going to come bring my aircraft back over here. I'm going to click on this keyboard control. From here, they have added a new feature. Instead of trying to control your aircraft with the Tello app, they're allowing students to use the keyboard now to fly this thing manually. The way this works is you click on the keyboard control to take off and fly this manually. You're just going to hit take off. It's going to pop it up to that predetermined altitude, and then all you need to do is follow the key commands to get this thing to do what you want it to do. To land, what do you hit? That space bar. So we're just going to go ahead and fly up a little bit higher, get ourselves some altitude. I'm going to hit I to go forward a little bit. Now it flies a little bit faster here. L to go right. And this is where it'd be fun to have the video camera if you know, through Drone Blocks. So I'll go ahead and bring this back towards me here. Hit the space bar. And land. So now students also have the option to fly manually. Whether or not you guys want them to is a whole nother story. Okay, so you guys tell me, do you guys feel like that's a safe option? Eh.
Where's that again?
Right at the top, I'll close this menu out here so you can get an idea where that's located. If I close that out right up here, keyboard control, that is a brand new feature that DroneBlocks has added this week. So there is that option. And you know, for you guys playing around with these things, I would definitely recommend you guys give that a go. So the other way that you tell that your tello is connected is all the way over to the left-hand side. It's going to populate the battery percentage, so at least you can kind of get a quick glance view of how much battery is left in your aircraft there. So the name, the title actually changes to tello, and then the battery percent populates. Those are the only two ways that you can really tell whether or not you're connected to DroneBlocks at this stage of the game. All right, let's get into the fun stuff here. How do we create a flight plan? The very first thing that you guys need to remember about creating a flight plan is that your flight plan will not work unless you have two key commands: a takeoff command and a land command. If you don't remember, if you don't have a takeoff command, it's just not going to go anywhere anyway, is it? But if you don't have a land command, it's not going to complete the whole program. So you've got to have a takeoff, you've got to have a land. It's up to you guys if you want to put those in first. Takeoff, you've got two options. You can click takeoff, or you can take off, have a timed delay. And of course, you can specify how much of a delay that you want to have on that. How do we do DroneBlocks? It's really simple. All you do is click on the block that you want, and then you can drag it anywhere you want. See how it's highlighted there? So we've got a takeoff command. Notice takeoff is at the top, land is at the bottom. Typically, when I'm developing a flight plan, I do my takeoff and land first. I just leave those blocks laying out there because I know they both have to be included in my flight plan. As far as navigation goes, we've got lots of different options in here. We can set the speed right here, and I believe that's where I came up with that set speed to 30 inches a second. You know, you can change it to centimeters a second. You can drop this, change this down to 10, you know, do whatever you want to do in there. This is one of those commands that me as a teacher, I would be watching like a hawk for my students to change this thing. So they're not trying to bump that up to 1,000 inches a second and scream that across the... I don't know if you got any students like that, but... All right, so as far as navigation commands, set speed, we've got fly forward, fly backward, fly left, right, up, down. We've got a coordinate system that you can incorporate in there. Curves, hover for X number of seconds if you just want to sit there. Yaw right, yaw left. So it's got all the major commands to move this thing around, turn it, yaw it, do whatever you want there. Flip, here's your flip forward, flip back, flip right. Loops, you know, this is where we're going to, if we have lots of repeat code, put that into a loop so that it can repeat it X number of times, whatever you specify on that. When we select multiple blocks and stuff, and I don't know, I haven't spent much time in Scratch, but with DroneBlocks, I don't know that you're going to hear this audible sound, but if you're working on your own PC and you got your volume up, let me see if got my volume up. If I take this block and snap it in here, of course I can't hear it, but do you see the image, that circle that it makes there? You will hear an audible click into place when you're doing the, just like that click there. All right. Obviously, that's the key. That's where you need to go, or need to snap those things together. That's what you have to do, okay? Listen for that audible click. Once they're snapped together, that means it's in a sequence that can be uploaded to the aircraft. So, to disconnect them, it's real simple. You just grab them and pull, right? Grab them and pull, separate it out. You can drag whatever, get rid of it if you like. I'm going to go ahead and add a couple things in here. I'm going to fly forward. I'm going to fly right. And fly back. Okay. And just do something like that. Now, once we've got some blocks in place, if you so choose, you can duplicate blocks by right-clicking. You've got different menu options here. Add a comment, external inputs, collapse blocks, disable blocks, delete 2 blocks. It does give you some options there, but I have to be honest with you guys, I haven't messed around with too many of those right-click menu options, and I don't know that I'm even going to really touch on that during the summer camp. So, unless you guys really feel like it's important. What I do like about the right-click menu is that if you do have repeat code, right? I mean, you just duplicate stuff, and that way you're not having to come over here and access this menu and find the stuff you want all the time. Logic, let's take a look at how this works. So this is essentially if condition, do this action. This is the same logic stuff that we would access if we wanted to do both if and else statements, but there's something you have to do to add that else statement in there. We've got this gearbox right here. If I click on that gearbox, I get a couple other options. So if I wanted to make this both an if and an else block, I'm going to drag this other else statement over there and see how it populated that else block down there. So if you've got a block that has a gear, just know that it is associated with some more additional options available to your students there. All right. So that was logic. You've also got different types of blocks, and or. Oops. This one here, of course, you've got all of the signs that you could think of for those of you mathematicians in here that really want to get in depth on some of that.
Got a question from the live stream.
Yeah.
They want to know what yaw means.
Sure, absolutely. So, in fact, let me get in front of, can I get in front of the camera here a little bit? So, yaw is one of our directional controls that is going to take and rotate the aircraft around its vertical axis. So, imagine a post running straight through the center of this aircraft here. With the post running right through the center of this aircraft, it's not going to be able to go forward or back or anything. All it can do is spin around that axis right there. Boop, boop. So yaw is going to change the direction of the nose. You've got to think, hey, look, there's a camera sticking right out this end. Imagine that that is your set of eyeballs because you're in the cockpit of this thing, and that's the driver's seat. That is, every aircraft has a definite front. That is the front of the aircraft, and when you initiate a yaw, you're going to change the orientation, the direction of the front of that aircraft, right or left. I hope that helped. Okay, so let me get rid of some of this extemporaneous stuff up here. Some math. Again, lots and lots of different options for math. I'm not going to hardly touch on a lot of that stuff that are in there. You know, students, really, you could get really in depth with some of the programming on some of this stuff, even way above my knowledge level. Variables. Click on variables. You have nothing in there, right? Well, that's because we have to create our own variables. We have to name our own variables. So let's take a look at how we do that. I'm going to come up here and just click on create a variable. What name do we want to name this? Let's say loop count. And if I hit OK, it populates several different types of variables. Set loop count to, change it by this, and then it gives us a block to place in. Maybe we've got some math where we would chunk it in one of these. Here, let me just try this. So you could really chunk it inside other things. Again, with variables, if I bring one out here, if I want to create, well, let me delete this one. If I wanted to create several different types of variables, so now I've got forward distance loop count. Now if I bring this guy over here, I've created how many types of variables? What variables did I create? A loop count and then my forward distance, right? So I've created two different variables. If I come over here and just select, let's see, duplicate, and then come down here to this drop-down menu, see how I've got both my variables in there to select from now? That's where the right-click menu really comes in handy. So if you're naming lots of variables, your variable menu will populate some of them, but it's much easier to just hit the drop-down menu, come down here, I wanted to change that to my loop count instead of a forward distance, and then insert that into your code. So they do create little simple shortcuts to make things a little simpler, so you're not always having to access the navigation menus over here. Functions, again, we're starting to see this gear over here. We click on that, input name, input with variable stuff. You can select that. Let's see what this does. Nothing. I will be the first to admit I'm not very good with functions either, so those of you that are programming and math savvy, I'm sure you could have a lot of fun with this sort of stuff. I have to watch some tutorial videos because I'm not great with math. So again, I don't plan on going super in-depth with some of that stuff anyway. We want to keep this fun and not totally throw their minds for a total loop. And then of course the last command there is our land, which we've already got plugged in there. All right, approaching 2:30 here. I feel like to get you guys to a comfort level where you walk out of here feeling like, yep, this isn't too bad. Now is the time where we need to kind of stop with the demonstrations, have you guys get some hands-on work, see if we can connect to drone blocks, maybe upload a mission. So here's what we're going to do. For those of you that are interested in doing that right now, we're going to kind of separate out operating areas so that we're not running into each other. So the first two rows right up here, you guys can come over here and you're going to be operating up here. First two rows, you guys are all going to be operating up here. Everybody else, let's see, you guys, let's have you guys, yeah, this should be enough room for all of us back here.
You don't need to move. You're gonna mission plan right there where
Yep.
you're at. When you think you have something, connect to your drone, bring your device up here and your drone, and you can launch it. So it doesn't have to be in one of these spaces. If you see an open space, take it. And just want to make sure you guys actually get a flight in. If you are having problems connecting or whatever, let us know. We'll come around and help, and we'll go from there. Got the first taker up here.
Yeah, right.
17 flips in a row.
Ah. Sounded like it was trying to do a flip.
how in the world do you have a picture of what your camera view is?
Use the camera.
You're on your iPad. That's cool.
So it does work even in the iOS.
Okay. I'm just going to talk to our live stream people real quick. We're kind of breaking out to do individual activities. So I'm going to put this live stream back on the mute and come back for just questions at the end of the day. So feel free to hop off. Obviously, you don't have the drones right in front of you, but feel free to rewatch this and then email either myself or Mike with any questions you have. We encourage you to kind of work through drone blocks and do anything else you can to prepare for the summer camp. So yeah, that's where we're at, and we will see you later. And one last thing, sorry that the video was cutting out. We don't have AC in here today, so the camera was overheating multiple times. So if you need footage of anything, just send me an email at klcollie@ksu.edu, and I can make those videos again for you. But yeah, be sure just to get some experience with your drones.
to the students for the summer camp, just so you guys get eyes on all of those flight plans. Look for additional stuff, content to appear in there, because not specifically in this PowerPoint, but I'm going to have to add more content to the summer camp itself based on your guys' feedback. I will coordinate with Kevin, see if we can make sure that we get all of whatever we're going to throw at you out to you guys, so it's not a surprise. Oh, they're creating this, and I had no idea. So you will get all that information. As far as linking drone blocks and I got screenshots here. If you run into some issues, please reference these. They may help you walk through that. I do kind of keep reminding you about classroom prep and your prep for the summer camp there. So again, this PowerPoint's included in all the in the modules there, so you do have access to it. I would take a look at that, you know, in the next few weeks here, so that you can make sure that you've got all that pre-course stuff taken care of. All right, and with that, I'll go ahead and open it up to any final questions, anything that concerns you. Yes.
If we created our own mission to fly it, do we have to make it public?
No, you do not. In fact, public, it just puts us in a repository so that, you know, people can go out there and take a look at what other people are creating. I personally have not accessed that to take any information off of it, so.
And if yours connected to your Tello, as we found over here, you're obviously not connected to the internet. So if you're modifying that flight plan in there and you go back to the internet, it will save it as an untitled one, where you can save as over the previous one that you had on there. Okay. One other thing I wanted to point out, I think we're still connected here. Can you launch this?
Sure.
Just real quick. So we had two instances where it was flying and then they lost total connection with the aircraft. They're pretty smart, but they're not quite smart enough to know that they lost connection and land. Likely they'll probably go until the battery gets really low and land on their own. I would suggest that if you lose connection, the student no longer has control, to do this maneuver here. It does have some protection underneath it, so it's going to move away. If you grab it, turn sideways. Okay. It'll probably, if you lost connection with it and it's not responding within the app, it's probably your best bet to grab it and turn sideways to do the land. Or button's not working anymore because it's no longer communicating from over the Wi-Fi.
It is also a safety feature in case you accidentally run into something, turn it, head over, and it'll just shut off. So it's not just sitting there spinning, trying to eat up your carpet
I
or.
recommend you do that. I'll leave that up to you.
All right.
Questions?
Wonderful to have you here today. Any other questions before you start your weekend? You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you for being patient and
I might just say too, we'll be back in next week if you're able to join us in person. If you go back and watch the recordings, the video might cut out sometimes because my camera was overheating all day with the AC, but the audio is still all intact, so if you need to re-listen to something, those recordings will be accessible to you. And yeah, you should get all the robots next week right now because we're using a company out of Salina, so they'll just come here and teach you how to use those robots and everything else. So yeah, and if you have any questions about summer skiing, we'll have all the lesson plans hopefully finalized by like mid-May and send those out to you. And those will be the final lessons, give or take, before the summer camp as well. So make sure to review those. We'll stick them in the Canvas, stick them in email. If there's some other way you'd like for us to communicate, just run that by me, and I'm happy to do any extra work to make communication as easy as possible. But with that, how about you give a big round of applause for our partners at Salina here, Mike and Travis, and Kurt, even though he's not here. Really appreciated it, and yeah, you are free to go. Stick around if you have questions. But thank you for coming today.
thanks, everybody. Thanks, Kevin, very much.
And yeah, thanks to Kevin too for getting everything organized.
Yeah.